On today's show, are the Memphis Grizzlies being slept on coming into this next season? The significance of the injury to Gigi Jackson and Zach Edey's strong case for being a Rookie of the Year. It's all coming up on today's Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Look, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We have something a little bit different for you today. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5. It's just $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you're all set and you can cancel at any time. And if that's not enough, FanDuel also has something special for our listeners this weekend. Be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's double your winnings for all of Sunday, September 8th pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting Friday, September 6th. Visit your account page now to learn more about your boost. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Grizzlies, Joe Mullinax. You can track down wherever you listen to your podcast or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Grizzlies. Joe, thanks so much for stopping by Locked On NBA here with us today, I should say. Let's kind of get into this with the Grizzlies because I want to start with, unfortunately, some disappointing news for Grizzlies fans right off the jump. A significant blow already to the Grizzlies, hoping to bounce back after a down season. Gigi Jackson suffering a foot injury. He's going to be reevaluated in 3 months. This is, a pretty major blow to the Grizzlies, all things considered. How significant of a loss is this for Memphis, do you think, going into the year?
Disappointed is a good word. I think that I'm disappointed because he's a young player who's a lot of fun to watch, right? He really kind of came into his own both as a scorer and as a wing defender those last 10 to 15 games of last season. I don't know that it's something that hurts the Grizzlies' prospects this season too much, because it's important to remember, even though he played a full rookie season, he's still going to be one of the youngest players in the entire NBA this coming campaign. And obviously Memphis is interested in competing again, right? Like, this team has Ja Morant, they have Desmond Bane, they have Jaren Jackson Jr. They are ready to go. And they're pretty deep, assuming health, which is a dangerous prospect with these Grizzlies. You've got Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey now, of course. Luke Kennard is back. You have Vince Williams Jr. You have Santi Aldama, who had a really strong Olympic showing for Spain. Brandon Clark is fully healthy. That's 9 guys just off the top of my head without bringing up a single backup point guard. Scottie Pippen Jr., Derrick Rose. Somebody's going to get those minutes behind Ja. Gigi Jackson, at best, was probably going to be the 6th man for this team, kind of a bucket getter off the bench. Worst case scenario, he's competing for a spot in the rotation. So it's important to remember that Gigi put up a lot of the numbers that he did on a really bad basketball team. Memphis isn't trying to be that kind of team anymore, and while they're certainly better having Gigi Jackson, I'm not convinced they're that much worse as long as the other guys stay afloat health-wise.
Okay, well, that's a bit of a different. I kind of envisioned, like, kind of the role you highlighted, right? 6th man spark plug off the bench, kind of, for Gigi. But you bring up a great point with all the depth, right, that the Grizzlies do have. So maybe not quite as significant as a blow as it might have seemed on the surface.
Theoretically speaking, Santi Aldama can be that guy. Like, Santi Aldama, if you watched him in the Olympics, and obviously FIBA rules are different than NBA rules, but Santi Aldama for Spain can be that guy. Brandon Clark has literally been that guy in the NBA. Luke Kennard is one of the top 10 3-point shooters of all time, in my opinion, when you combine role with shooting percentages. The fact he's over 45% shooting from beyond the arc the last 5 seasons. They have numerous guys that theoretically, again, can fit alongside Ja and Jaren and Desmond Bane. We're at the point with the Grizzlies where they have their 3 guys, the 3 kings, 3 stars, whatever you want to call them, Ja, Des, and Jaren. As long as those 3 are healthy and ready to go, and they don't have 5 other dudes have some cataclysmic accident occur, this team should be in a position to be in the mix regardless of what happens to the other dudes on the roster.
You'd hope, after as decimated as this Grizzlies team was last season, that they get some injury. They get on the other end of like the injury luck card,
so.
right? And we'll see how things play out this year. But so obviously weighing the GG news, right, and obviously the much anticipated return of Ja Morant, I can't help but feel like people forget just how good this Grizzlies team is when they were healthy, right? We're talking, This is a team that was back-to-back 2 seeds in the Western Conference. We're one season removed from that, right? One down season. So do you feel like, or do you get the sense that the Grizzlies are being slept on a little bit going into this year?
Yes, but that's existence as a Memphis Grizzlies fan. I live in Virginia now, and there's people, when they find out I'm a Grizzlies fan, they forget that the Grizzlies exist sometimes. And I wish I was being facetious and joking, but I mean, it's the smallest market in the NBA. It just kind of is the situation that Memphis finds itself in when you don't have Ja Morant, who is that international, potentially, certainly national star. Memphis kind of falls to the background, understandably so, to some extent. I think that they're in a position to remind a lot of people, like even in the 9 games that Ja did play this past season, Memphis was 6-3. They beat the New Orleans Pelicans twice. They beat the Los Angeles Lakers in a pretty impressive showing out in Los Angeles. The Grizzlies have
the Lakers are a low bar at this. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun to make fun of the Lakers, but they still have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and you're looking at this situation, and we can focus on the Pelicans. The Pelicans are a team that every preview that I see, or almost every preview that I see, they have the Pelicans in front of the Memphis Grizzlies, and I want to know why. Because in head-to-head, Memphis has dominated that recently, especially when Ja Morant has been on the floor. So I think that there is a level of forgetfulness for some understandable reasons, but I do think that this is a Grizzlies team who returns a lot of what they looked like a couple of years ago, substituting in a Zach Edey for a Steven Adams. What you lose in some of the passing that Steven Adams brings to the table, you gain in terms of offensive touch. He's basically like a bigger Jonas Valanciunas. And I think that that's going to be really interesting to kind of watch play out. All the screening, all the space that Ja is going to have to work with. I think as long as he stays healthy, he's going to have a really impressive comeback year. And if he does that, Memphis is going to be a top 5 team in the West. I have no doubt in my mind.
Health has absolutely been a consistent talking point here with this Grizzlies team. I'm glad you bring up the Zach Edey, Steven Adams angle of things, because I feel like that's kind of an underrated storyline with this Grizzlies squad. Is ever since Steven Adams went down due to injury, right? They hadn't found like that Steven Adams replacement, essentially.
Sure.
They were eyeing, there were some reports that they were eyeing Donovan Clingan in the draft. They wind up getting Zach Edey, which a lot of people thought was kind of a reach where they did select him. How do you, what should be kind of the expectations for Zach Edey this season, right? It's kind of a lot to come into a situation where you are playing on a winning team, a team that wants to get back to the place that they were at, just a couple seasons ago.
He's in a position to be the rookie of the year, or at the very least first team all rookie team. And the reason I say that is he has the perfect marriage of opportunity in terms of playing time. He's going to play 25 minutes or so a game with being on a good basketball team and playing alongside guys like Ja Morant. It's that time of the year. I know you know this, Jackson. All the workout videos come out.
Oh, absolutely.
All the social media managers are posting things with snare drum beats behind it and all that sort of stuff. Ja and Edey have had some workouts together, and there's some connections with some of Ja's personal coaches going back to IMG Academy, where Zach Edey went to school. So it's not like they're best friends, but they have mutual acquaintances that have led to them kind of working out together over the summer. And that's going to be a really important pairing because obviously Morant still has a mid-range and 3-point game that he needs to develop. But when Ja has been at his best is when he's had a big that is able to take up so much room on screens and allow for him to work around them and have space to operate. And again, Edey is bigger than Steven Adams. So if he is as good of a screen setter, which statistically speaking, going back to college, most of the numbers suggest he is, if he's as good of a screener as Adams is, and he's bigger, and it allows for him to be able to have that space once again to operate, it enables so much of what Memphis is capable of doing to be reignited, right? So I think that it's kind of hearkening back to what they were a couple of years ago. And I do think it's wise because I preferred Clingan as well in the draft. I thought he could do a little bit more physically. But Edey, to just say he's a big, fat, lazy, 7'4", 300-pound guy, you haven't watched Zach Edey play. Like, this guy can move a lot better than you give him credit for, than I gave him credit for. Just in the small smack roll that we got in Summer League, this is a dude who has lateral quickness, that has the ability to get back to the basket. Obviously, guards are going to be faster than him because he's 7'4", 300 pounds, but he's not some big, plodding, dumb, slow guy. Like, this is someone that's going to be able to run.
We know another 7'4" center that can keep up with guards. Come on, let's keep the No, I'm kidding.
But my point is that he is in a position that he really has an opportunity to be on a good team, to have a distinct role. They're not going to ask him to do what he had to do at Purdue. He's going to be told play 25 to 28 minutes a game, help Jaren. Don't allow for him to be that help side defender that got him his Defensive Player of the Year award a couple of seasons ago, and make room for Dez and Ja to operate. He is a complementary role player that Memphis desperately needs, and that's the stage that the Grizzlies are at. People forget that because of the way that all the injuries played out, but they've got their 3 stars. Jaren, Desmond Bane, and Ja Morant, when healthy, are 3 of the top 40 or so players in the NBA. All you need around those guys is pieces that complement their skill sets, and Edey checks a lot of the boxes needed for that.
Can the Grizzlies prove the doubters wrong? How will Memphis look in the return of Ja Morant this upcoming season? You're going to have us covered for all of that and so much more over at Locked On Grizzlies. Joe, thanks for stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
As always, Jackson, happy to be here. Looking forward to next time.